3, 2, action. Hey guys, it's Alana.
And Jonah.
And welcome back for another episode of Seeing Other People. Jonah, just take it away with your big news. Just go. Just do it. There's no point in talking about anything else because right now literally nothing else matters.
Appreciate that. It is one of those days that the secret project that I've alluded to for so long is my movie Dating in New York, which you guys have heard me talk about in the past. But we are premiering our movie at the Tribeca Film Festival, which will take place in June. And it's really a dream come true in 1,000 million ways. And I've had to keep it a secret for a couple weeks, let alone the fact that I was waiting to hear back for almost months. It's kind of like waiting to hear a text back from your ex, but sorry, not even from your ex. You're waiting to get a text back from your crush, but you're waiting 8 months. And then they respond, and it's like a good response. So the movie, actually very cool. As of tomorrow, or today, I guess, Tuesday, when the episode comes out, you can literally go buy a ticket for $15. You can watch it at home. And
already?
Well, no, in June.
But oh my God, I was like, I'm canceling all my plans. Like, oh my God.
We have some time. I can fill in more specifics in future episodes, but you can go get a ticket. You can go learn about the movie. It's called Dating in New York, TribecaFilmFestival.com, or any one of our social feeds. And you can reserve a ticket for $15 if you want to see it as part of the festival, which will include like a cool, intro video and other fun stuff like that. And yeah, today we got to announce it. So like literally it's like just, press control and like seeing
guys,
what happens.
I've been hearing about this since mine and Jonah's first date. Like that's what he was working on. He was about to start like production for it. And it's really, really cool to see all of this happen. And I mean, I've been telling friends about this for years and they're like, when can we see it? And I'm like, I don't know. And I saw I was very lucky to be invited to see like one of the first cuts of it, like way before the pandemic started. And this isn't like a movie where it's like, oh yeah, like I know the person who made it. Like a friend of mine made this movie, like this little film. Like, no, this is something that like would genuinely pop up as a Netflix original on Netflix. I would then be in like the top 10 and everyone would be talking about it. Like it's phenomenal. And it's so like, the whole thing, everything about it is perfect and is so like relatable and real. And, me and Zoe, if you don't know who Zoe is, my dog, me and Zoe do make a cameo for about 1 second. And so if not for any other reason, just you have to see it to see little Zozo.
You got a great cameo, opening scene in the movie. But yeah, so everyone, before you listen to these episodes, go check it out. Dating in New York, Tribeca Film Fest. If you're interested in watching a rom-com with Jabuki Young White, Francesca Rielli, Kat Cohen, Arturo Castro, Taylor Hill, Jerry Ferrara,
Alana and Zoe
Alex
Dunn.
Moffat, Alana Dunn, Zoe Dunn. So that's the cast of the movie. If you guys do want to go check that out, please do. Please support. Alana, tell us about our awesome guest today.
Okay, so first of all, this guest has been in such high demand and is there. We have 2 guests. So we have Allie and Roark from Finding Mr. Height, the podcast. And I've been watching Allie's videos. She's a dating coach. I've been watching her videos on TikTok for so long. And she and I recently connected and like huge fan of hers. And so many of you requested that we collab with them. And I think also this is like such a high in demand topic, which is situationships. And so we are going to talk about all of the ins and outs of situationships, how to tell if you're in one, how to know if you need to get out of it, how to try and avoid getting into one. We answer some listener questions and we get into some good debates and have some really, really insightful, like light bulb off in your head moments. So we're really excited. So let's bring it into the episode. Finding Mr. Height, Situationships, Allie Roark, Alana Jonah, Zoe Dunn. We out. And we are now in the episode. Welcome to the episode, everyone.
Hello. Are we everyone? Hi.
We're everyone.
Did someone just whistle or was that just my screen? Did anyone hear just hear that?
Cat?
That was a cat?
Shut up.
That was my cat.
That was your cat makes bird sounds?
They are actually hunting a bird as we speak out on my balcony.
You're being serious. This is like I heard like a bird escape a situation, basically.
Yeah. Well, no, they can't reach the bird. There's glass in between them and the bird, but they don't know that.
Jonah, do you have a birdie in your room?
I don't. I was watching my family's dog and for the past like 24 hours and she's no longer here, but she was very nice. Her name's Birdie, but it's a dog. For our listeners at home, don't get confused. I know her name is Birdie, but she's a dog, not a bird. Very
Not a
confusing.
bird.
Hey, I had a lot of pet birds growing up. Don't hate on the pet bird thing.
What's a lot of?
Like, I think we had like 10 throughout my first
What?
like 12 years of life.
That is a lot. That's a lot of birds.
I think that was my parents' way of like holding us off from realizing, why don't we have a dog? It worked for a while until it didn't.
Work? Yeah. Oh,
I would love to unpack why it's taken us almost 30 episodes for this to be the first time I've ever heard that you grew up with 10 birds in your house.
Not all at once, at different times, but yeah. There are things you don't know about me, Jonah.
I just feel like it's a very interesting thing. I think do you ever say that on dates? Like even 3 dates in, you never brought up that you had seen 10 birds go through lives in your home. That's more than most people ever will live, to know 10 different birds.
That
I don't
is
know. We're here to talk
true.
about dating. We're here to talk about
situationships.
Yeah.
Do you two want to take a moment and let everyone know who you are and what you're all about?
Yeah, I'm Allie. I am at Finding Mr. Height on Instagram is what a lot of people know me by. But I am a dating coach as a little bit of a side hustle, and I've been doing that for about a year. Gosh, it's been about a year. And about 2 months ago, my good friend Roark and I launched a podcast, Finding Mr. Height, the podcast, and that's how we got connected with you, beautiful people.
Congratulations.
Yes, beautiful people.
Yeah.
I'm Roark, and I am Allie's hype man. I have no business like she does giving this advice, and yet here I am.
Untrue.
And no, we're just having a great time, and two girls in their 30s talking about what it's like out there on the scene.
I love it. What is it like out there on the scene? Tell us.
Alana, something I have to own in my friendships and dating is that I am a horse girl. And so I think you now have to own that you're a bird girl. And like these are our crosses to bear.
No.
I'm a cat girl. It's okay.
But
I'm a dog girl. I like dogs.
I'm not. I'm not owning that I'm a bird girl. I'm sorry.
So you grew up riding horses? Is that what horse girl means? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like is it called equestrian? What's the term?
Equestrian?
It's an equestrian.
Equestrian.
I like equestrian a little bit better, though.
Yeah, I'm equestrian. It's like an aquarium for horses.
We learn words on this
just
show.
A horse stable. That's exciting. I didn't know. Okay, fun details about pets, and congratulations on launching your podcast. It's very, that's a huge thing to do, and I'm sure we have a lot we will relate to each other about. Literally, how the fuck do we record, make it interesting, keep a conversation going, all these things that Lana and I have when we launched this podcast, it was pandemic times. We did one episode in real life, and then the next thing we knew, we were doing it over Zoom, and it just, there should be more podcasts about how to create podcasts, I think.
I'm sure there are. We just don't listen to them.
I'm sure there are. But are they good advice? Because how many podcasts are there out there?
Right.
Exactly. Do they actually know what they're talking about to the extent that they've had a successful podcast and then went back and said, let me tell you what we did then didn't work, kind of like dating.
I have been kind of like dating. That's literally what we're doing every week. It's been let me tell you about what I fucked up.
And time for a shout out to our sponsor, Mindset Wellness CBD. I have in my hands right here my happy gummies, which I actually have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 left in my jar, and it started with 50. And that means that 42 times I have chosen to be happy. I've chosen that I want to have a happy mindset. And that's a really cool thing about Mindset Wellness and all of their gummies and drops and stuff is you can actually decide you know what? I want to be restful. I want to be calm. I want to feel focused. I want to feel happy. And you can choose what mindset you want. And their CBD gummies actually really work and help you and kind of relieve you of the anxiety you're feeling that's preventing you from being in that mindset. So I really love them. I've had a great 42 times of being happy on command, and I'm looking forward to many, many more. I just actually I ordered 100 jar of the rest ones because I'm obsessed with those as well. And hopefully you've tried them by now. If not, highly recommend. Also an amazing gift for Mother's Day for all of your stressed out, anxious moms. Head to mindsetwellnesscbd.com and use code Seeing Other People for 10% off and free shipping. Back to the app.
Well, thank you guys for being here. Situationships, great word. Great modern word for figuring out what the hell certain relationships might be. We have, of course, pulled Urban Dictionary definitions of what a situationship is, but do we want to all go around quickly and just say our own quick definition of what we think a situationship might be?
I love that.
That can be fun. All right, Alana, you're in my upper left-hand corner. Why don't you start us off?
Wow, I'm in my upper right-hand corner. Bizarre. What's it like over there? Situationship. I feel like situationship just defines modern dating, though that's not a definition, but it's a thing. It's when you don't know what it is because you're not communicating enough to actually understand what it is. So there's something going on with someone, but are you casually hooking up? Do you even like each other? Is it gonna go somewhere? Is it not? You don't know. You're just in a thing, and that's a situationship. Next.
Yeah. I
Allie,
think for me, if I can take the baton,
Please.
I think for me, it's the uncertainty about the end goal that defines it.
Ooh,
of
that's
like
good.
where, thanks.
Allie
Like,
is full of gems, guys. It's really
It
intimidating,
kind of
but
defines
amazing.
life. That actually
my God.
defines life if you think about it. Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, this is too much. Keep
We
going.
just got too real. There's this meme that I really like that says, like, I really like my life's cast, but I'm unsure of the plot. And I relate to it a lot. But in any case, I think that's what there could be so many variations of a situationship, but at the end of the day, it's that one or both people is unsure of where it's going in that nebulous term.
I approve of that definition.
Okay, now we're screwed because I don't know if there's any way to top that definition.
I was going to say, I'm a big believer in like not speaking when you feel like you're not adding anything. And I don't know that I'm going to add anything right now. I think that those 2 points really capture it. It's the lack of communication. It's the ill definition. And I think it's sort of like, it leads to an insecurity of your own feelings and not feeling confident in a dynamic, which can be really scary.
Yeah. By the way, something that Alana and I probably don't subscribe to is the idea of not adding things that need to be added to. We'd love to just add to the conversation whenever we possibly can. But I agree with everyone here. I like the profoundness. My answer is slightly more specific in that I believe a situationship is simply a label to give meaning to what we are doing with somebody else. Specifically, a situationship is the top, and then the lower header is like, we sleep together every Sunday because we get lonely on Sundays, or we booty call each other during the week, or we're neighbors, so we like go on dates once in a while, or they live in LA and visit every Thanksgiving. So like it's all like sex related, which I'm realizing probably isn't a good thing that I'm thinking of right now. But I did a web series for a website called Elite Daily a couple of years ago, 2015, when like modern dating had started to become like self-aware, not as much as it is right now, but like 2015 level stuff. And the show title was called Microships. And shout out to my sister who came up with that title. And basically it was about Microship is basically like a 48-hour romance. It's like when you match with someone on a Friday or Thursday, you meet up and like you spend the entire weekend together, because sometimes this happens, and you like have the entire roller coaster of like a relationship, and then like it just doesn't continue. It just stops. That would be a situationship to me. And like in that case, microship, weekend relationship, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, that's my definition.
That's interesting to me because when I think about it, I think of something like very long term. I think of something that's drawn out, that continues because either like nobody's bringing up anything that would end it because you're both just like kind of in limbo indefinitely.
Yeah.
Is what I think.
Like Jonah, what you were describing, I would think of more as a fling.
Yeah, well, is that because it's finite? Is that because we know that it was going to end? Yeah,
or that
that's
it
a good
did.
point.
Like
or
I
they
think,
did. Yeah,
I think for me, it's kind of what you said, Alana. There's longevity attached to a situationship. There's like, because I think part of the uncertainty is in the longevity of it. It's like, well, we've been doing X, Y, Z, insert whatever you've been doing for insert amount of time you've been doing it. So what's happening?
Yeah. Well, here's what Urban Dictionary defines as a situationship. And of course, we go by Urban Dictionary, not, Merriam-Webster.
No, Holy Grail.
But a situationship is kind of like a relationship, but more of a situation. Friends with benefits are a situationship. People that are a thing are in a situationship. Another one. If two people are considered to be complicated, they're most likely in a situationship. A la It's Complicated Facebook relationship status. Started that one. If somebody isn't your boyfriend or girlfriend because of a fear of being labeled, they are definitely in a situationship. Example, I'm in a situationship because I'm not single, but I'm not in a relationship. I think those definitely kind of cover.
Are you saying yourself?
No, that was an example that was given.
Oh, example. God. I thought you meant like example, me, I'm in a situationship.
No.
You're an official boyfriend-girlfriend relationship.
Once in my life, I'm not in a situationship. God bless. I don't pray, but like, God bless whoever above let this happen.
Yeah, me either, but that's because there's nobody. So it's very clear. It's very clear. But I think Roark and I made a face together at one of those points, and that was that friends with benefits is a situationship. I very much think that's something entirely different.
I agree.
Ooh, please elaborate. Please elaborate.
Well, I think that friends with benefits is defined in the sense that you are friends, you just have benefits. It's not going anywhere. I mean, sometimes one person could have feelings, right? But in theory, a friends with benefits relationship is where both people have entered into it knowing the score.
Yes.
So we're saying situationships need to be inherently vague?
Jonah, think about it. So we had an episode recently where a former friend with benefit of mine, Alex, came on, and we talked about how we had a whole discussion and debate about the terms, and we signed a contract. Jonah, this relates to the plot of your movie as well. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. Feel free to.
That's fine.
This relates to the plot of your movie where they also sign a contract. People who go into a friends with benefits situation, the majority of the time know what they are entering into. Yes. Okay,
right.
So we're crossing that one off the list.
But friends with benefits is a type of situationship.
No,
because friends with benefits is a type of situation. Say it again, because I have comprehension issues.
If we're kind of all aligned that a situationship is almost defined by the lack of understanding of what it is, because there hasn't been that communication, because you don't know if it's going to go anywhere. Friends with benefits is what it is. It's friends with benefits. So you have a friend who you're hooking up with. Go.
No, you're fine. But, Jonah, I think that a situationship is defined by role in security. What am I to this person? And friends with benefits, you are their friend, and that occasionally sleep together, but you are not the person that they, introduce at a company function as your girlfriend. There is role definition in being a friends with benefit. There is not role definition in being a situationship.
Well, hold on. Then, okay. And just because this is fun and I like to counter stuff like this just for the sake of conversation, you're at a work function, you're going to introduce your situationship and your friends with benefit the exact same way to somebody else.
Your friends with benefit wouldn't be with you at that work function.
Why not? Well, hold on. Well, I mean, maybe
I've a coworker.
If I had a friends with benefits who I like this, I mean, I think maybe what I'm hung up on is that friends with benefits is such a slippery slope of two people never actually being down. Friends with benefits is the ultimate curse, because everyone thinks we're just going to be friends and have sex. And then of course, someone is going to catch feelings. They always do. In the case that Alana brought up with her and her buddy, Alex, he caught feelings. Alana started ghosting him when she moved back to America. And we got into the nitty gritty of what actually happened. They had beef. He resented her. She was busy. She didn't want to do long distance. All these things started to present themselves. So I think maybe where I'm getting hung up is that friends with benefits ultimately never works. So therefore it does turn into some type of
it may devolve into one.
Okay.
Yes. I think we're all getting aligned on that. It can become one if feelings get introduced. If one person is we started as friends with benefits, but now it seems like we're becoming something and maybe it's going somewhere, but I don't really know how they feel. Yes, I think we're all getting aligned that it can definitely lead to a situationship.
by the way, real quick, we did gloss over the fact that the It's Complicated thing on Facebook. I wish someone, maybe someone did, but someone needs to write a think piece about how that exact feature was probably the downfall of like romance or like monogamy in America or the world.
That is giving way too much credit.
But I have a traumatic experience with that status.
Oh, please tell us.
Because so when I was in college, I guess I was in a situationship with a guy.
Okay.
We didn't know that was a term at the time, but like we would like hang out at frat parties and then like hook up, whatever. So we were doing that. And then he told me that we had to stop because this other girl that he had also been in a situation, and we were not exclusive, like just to be clear, but this other girl that he was also in a situationship with was upset that he was hanging out with me, and she forced him to make their relationship status on Facebook It's Complicated, like a literal use of that status.
Ouch.
And it was because everybody obviously knew that he and I had been talking, and so then like the next day It's Complicated with this other person, and it was like the talk of the school. In retrospect, it was a really lame talk of the school moment, but
I'm sure it was a huge deal.
Yes.
Like that sounds, former me is getting stressed hearing this because I know if like you see that pop up and it's just like, oh my God, what is happening?
Yes. So that's another major part of the story that I kind of glossed over. I didn't know it was going to happen. I woke up, looked at my Facebook feed and saw so-and-so It's Complicated with.
And not only did you see, but everyone saw.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, now that we know that story, we can all sleep at night. But yeah, so I think we can sum it up with a few different examples of like what a situationship could be outside of a potential later on in the friends with benefits situation. But it can be two people who like each other and are hanging out and going on dates, but they're afraid to have the DTR talk. It could be people who are consistently seeing each other, but they're not exclusive and they haven't really been introducing each other to their friends or kind of bringing each other into their world. You're just like hanging out behind closed doors. It could be that person that you regularly text or FaceTime constantly, but never actually hang out with in real life. And I've had so many of these situationships where like I'm in a full on like emotional relationship with multiple guys, but we don't actually see each other. We just spend every waking minute in constant communication, but never in person.
I've been there.
Yep. It could be the person you're not necessarily sure about, so you won't commit to them, but you continue seeing them until you're like, oh, like I'll figure it out as I go. I think there are a lot of examples they could be, but just hearing those, Allie, thank you for sharing your college situationship. Jonah or Roark, do either of you have one to share?
Roark?
Go for it, Jonah. It's all you.
Oh, these listeners have heard all, most of my adventures in romancing, but they haven't heard yours.
So I don't think I actually end up in this that often because I'm a very black and white, like line drawing person. And I also don't really like to, this has been coming up a lot on our podcast, is that I don't really like to text communicate with people that I'm dating. I like to text with girlfriends. And so I don't end up in sort of like a emotional communication relationship with somebody. But I would say my closest thing to a situationship was probably what I was with a person I ended up dating subsequently for 2.5 years, where he and I sort of like were like, let's kind of try this in a casual way where we will be exclusive, but we won't really tell anyone about it. And then I had to travel for 7 weeks and couldn't communicate with anybody. And so we used that as a period to consider what we were going to do. And then when we came back, we decided to date for 2.5 years. But like that time was very confusing and stressful and frustrating.
Yeah.
Interesting. Thinking, okay. Well, I guess I have a situationship, but I also, I guess the closest thing I have to a situationship is a coworker experience. But then I'm like, is that friends with benefits? But then I'm like, it's a coworker experience. And because we were working together and she just got out of a serious relationship, then I was like, we kind of knew it was a fleeting thing. So that does equate to like how much time we had together. But I think perhaps what I'm like more wondering in my head goes to is like, are situationships good or bad? And I know that's not really what you asked, Alana, but my head is like, was it a good thing or a bad thing? And I also just sort of want to open that up to all of us. Like, are situationships a cop out from confronting our own fear of commitment? Or are they a beautiful blessing in disguise as a way to navigate the ever-changing landscape of modern romance?
God.
I'm Ali. I'm seeing some head nods, and I actually don't know if you're nodding towards it being a good thing or a bad thing. So I'm very curious.
I think it's somewhere in between those two things. Like, I don't think I would say that situationships are like a great way to discover anything. Like, for me, they're a great way to get anxious about everything, which describes a lot of things for me. But I also don't think that they're inherently bad and always bad. Like, I also had a similar story to Roark where I had a situationship with someone where we did eventually decide to date. And we were
what
just
was that?
kind of,
What defined that? Like, how did you come to that decision together?
so he was leaving, moving cities. I live in New York. He was moving to Philly when we like decided to rekindle things. It was somebody I'd previously dated. And we were like, okay, we want to try things again, but you're leaving. So like, is this a thing we want to do long distance? Both of us said no. And then, but we're like, but let's just have fun for a few months until you leave. And then as those months progressed, it's funny that you mentioned the work function, Jonah, because I brought him to a work function.
Oh, God.
And afterwards I said to him, I was like, it's really a bummer that I don't get to introduce you as my boyfriend, that like, you're not mine.
Oof.
And he was like, well, I am yours. Okay. And then we had that conversation, and then we're like, okay, I guess we're doing this.
This is where the whole audience goes, "Aw."
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Anybody who listens to our podcast knows where the story goes.
Yeah.
Wait, so hold on. Yeah, well, so hold on.
Is this the ex that there were the two different breakups where like the vegan and all that?
This is the aspiring sober vegan. Yes, it is.
Well, for our listeners who are now going to be listening, can you give us the like quick ending? Like, what has this fairy tale end?
Basically, so this guy like is a close mutual friend, and the first time we dated, he tried to ghost me, and I was like, nay, you won't be ghosting me. We have a very close mutual friend. No. But then when we tried to rekindle, that whole story that I just told you, very cute hearts, happened. And then we dated long distance for about 6 months. And then he broke up with me out of nowhere for me. Obviously, he wasn't for him. And the reason he gave for breaking up with me was that he wanted to be sober and vegan and move to Ohio so that he could donate 80% of his income to charity.
Did he do those things?
No.
None of which is accomplished, which
no.
is why we call him the aspiring sober vegan.
Oh my God. Well, okay. I wonder. Yeah. I mean, shucks. Okay. That's what an interesting case of like, I thought that was going to end differently. I'm not going to lie to you guys.
So did I, to be honest with you, Jonah.
Don't we always?
But yeah, no, I guess maybe situationships are a good thing if all parties involved are on the same page about it. Goes back to communication, goes back to having a mutual understanding of things. Alana's disagreeing.
Okay, but I feel like every situation, not every, but I've ended up in a lot of situationships where it's that whole cycle of like them being like, yeah, I don't know if I'm like really in the place to like be in a relationship right now because of like work or my career goals or yada, yada, yada. But I really like you and like want to keep hanging out with you. And so I'm like, okay. So then we're just like hanging out for months and months and like doing all the things that couples do. And I'm like, oh, so yeah, like we're definitely like dating. And then they're like, no, like I still don't want anything serious. I'm like, what do you mean? And like that's how all of my situationships basically have gone. And they have not been good things. They have been terrible, terrible experiences where Alana gets very, very hurt.
Well, you got to stop hanging out with them. It sounds like the text that you sent me when you broke up with me over text and said that you just got out of something and that you didn't want to enter into something else and that you were down to be friends. And then me being the slightly immature at the time, 28, 29-year-old was like, I'm never going to speak to her again. And then she's going to miss me. And that is the power that a lack of,
well, but I was like, let's pick it up like down the line. Let's stay friends. That's different.
There is no let's pick it up down the line. No. There was no.
Or I said like maybe I'll reach out when I'm more ready. I think is what I said verbatim.
I don't think so. We have those texts. We can look at them. They're on our Instagram.
We'll reference them.
I don't believe you said that, but the counter to that is that having seen that and being in that position before, my lesson to myself was do not lead myself on. Don't get I can't change her. I can't change her opinion on me. That she told me the exact truth, and therefore I need to read it as the truth and act as I should. Well, AKA dark side of the moon.
I know that, but
well, I'm just saying. Yeah, I'm just saying. You know. So when someone tells you something, they probably mean it. I guess is like what is.
Yes, and that was the takeaway of like 5 years of pain.
Anyway. Moving on. Sometimes we get these little personal therapy sessions. I hope you guys don't mind. That's part of the scene other people can.
We learn a lot along the way. It's great.
Alana, continue. I feel like you were doing a great job of point guarding us, which is my only sports reference I'll make.
Don't quit while you're ahead, please. Please don't. No more sports references.
Quarterbacking.
Allie and I know sports. We can sports. What's up?
You two can.
I don't know anything about basketball. Roark knows about basketball. I'm more of like a football girl.
I mean, Jonah literally thought the Final Four was the Fab Five in basketball.
Oh, I remember seeing that.
Is it not?
No.
So, okay, so Situationships.
Is that I watched The Masked Singer last night for the first time. It is the most chaotic show I've ever seen. And in 2 weeks, it will be the Spicy Six. So.
Wait, is that true?
Yes, it's true.
Into it. But Jonah, not sports. That's not sports.
Still not sports.
That's The Masked Singer.
Still not sports.
Okay.
Debatably a sport.
So for people listening who are learning a lot about situationships right now, how can we help them? So I think there are a few questions that came up when we reached out to our listeners and asked them for questions. So the first one was, how do you recognize that you are actually in a situationship?
I mean, for me, I think it's that if you don't know how to define it, like if you're confused, then you probably are in a situationship. I don't know, Roark, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think, Alana, your anecdote a couple minutes ago was perfect, where it's if you feel like you are not able to carry out sort of the emotional standards you want to have with somebody, then you're probably in a situationship.
Yeah, like if you feel you can't be authentic about your emotions, that you have to kind of hold yourself back, maybe. Yeah. Or if you think the other person might be doing that, because you could be the person who doesn't want more in the scenario.
Correct.
Do you think the person who doesn't want more is able to recognize that they're doing this to someone else or that they're in this situationship?
Hopefully, if they consume content like this, they can.
I think there's also a difference between self-awareness and acting upon that. And so they might be able to recognize it and either not care or think, well, she hasn't really spoken up and like I haven't really spoken up. And so we'll sort of like play this game of emotional chicken.
Yeah. Well, if you do decide, if one of the people does decide, like, I do have feelings for this other person, how would you go about communicating that? If you know that you are like stuck in this situationship,
Yeah, I did a rant about this recently on TikTok where people always ask me, like one of the most common questions that I get from followers, clients, whatever, is how do I have the what are we conversation?
Yeah.
And the answer is you do not. You do not have a what are we conversation. You have a this is what I would like us to be conversation.
Ooh.
And I think that is how you go about addressing that. You use I statements, you talk about your feelings, you don't project anything onto them. And I also think that you start with your feelings versus asking them, because nothing's worse than somebody asking you a question and they have a preferred answer, but they haven't told you that.
There's nothing worse than that. And then someone saying, I was sort of expecting you to answer like this, or trying to put, how come you didn't say this?
Yeah.
Especially as a dude, like I think sometimes a lot of times I've been like under heat, we would say, is when it's like the word choices I use, or like my guy friends will be like, they got into a fight and she got hung up on something that I said when it's not what I really meant. And this I know it can be tough in the moment, but like what we say and what we mean are two very different things sometimes if we're not fantastic communicators, and even when you're a good communicator, it's tough. So like, I don't know, this is kind of tangential to that case, but maybe people will relate when they're listening. Like, it's just, I had this one ex who like would always just get so like upset over like, I kind of expect you to say this, or how come, you said these words. And I'm like, first of all, in my head, I'm like, I straight up never said that. Like, I know for a fucking fact that's what your narcissist actress ass thought you heard, and I'm being mean to her because she broke up with me like 5 times, so I don't care. And I'm allowed to be mean when you
I know,
break
I'm
my heart
sensing a lot of
times.
hostility, and I'm a little scared.
Yeah. No, she's a nice person, but she broke up with me like legitimately 3 times, and I think she was secretly obsessed with herself, but we're not going to get into that.
We just went from 5 to 3.
Yeah.
Well,
Was it
5 micro breakups and then 3 major ones, I'd say.
So 8?
And now 8.
We're good at math around here, Jonah. You can't get anything past us.
I'm really bad at math. I'm bad at comprehension, bad at math. So, but no, I guess just the point is like, she'd always get hung up on these certain words or things I said. And I'm like, I guess I don't know, because I need to, obviously when I'm like under fire, I need to say something. But what I mean, like up here, is like you're literally getting hung up on like the word choice when clearly we have a misunderstanding of what each word means. I don't know how we even got here, but
where are we?
But I do love your answer about the what are we, and I think our listeners are really gonna love that, which is you don't have a what are we conversation. No. You say what you guys are. Alana, is that similar to what just happened with you? Oh, sorry, Roark.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, I want to just tack on to what Ali was saying, in that I completely agree that you have to stand sort of strong in, these are my feelings, this is what I would like. And then you have to then like follow through on that. Because if you say that and then what you hear back is like, oh, I can't do that, I can't be that for you. You cannot say, oh, JK, that's enough, actually, like, let's make this work. Yeah. You have to then actually be true to like what you put on the table. I think of sort of like a BATNA, like you need like a negotiation technique, right? Where it's like you need to know like what your best alternative is to an agreement, and you have to be willing to walk away.
Wait.
I think that's good. Sorry, go Jenna.
Can you elaborate on just what that term is? I've never heard that term.
Yeah, me either, Roark.
And what
Ali, I'm shocked because I'm pretty sure we did like a training together at work where like, we had to do this. BATNA stands for Best Alternative to a Negotiated Agreement. And so it's like, basically like, what are you willing to accept? And so I think like you need to have that conversation to yourself before you go into this type of dialogue, where if you are genuinely not okay with continuing like hooking up and not meeting somebody's friends and family, then you need to say like, that's my line. Or like, if you're long distance, this is getting larger, but like if you're long distance and you want to close that distance and the person says like, I can close it in 6 months, is that okay? Like you have to find sort of like the outer boundaries of like what you're okay with.
Yeah, I like that. And I think the concept of the BATNA and the best alternative and the best option is important to not just like this conversation, not just the what are we, but any big conversation that you're having with a potential partner or an actual partner. I think it's really important, like what you said, if that's not what they're going to give you, that you walk away. And that's also why I like the idea of you first telling them, like, don't ask them, tell them what your needs are. That way it's out there. So that it's like, it's almost like you saying it out loud first makes you accountable for sticking to it and lets them hear. Yeah, I'm like not finding the right words right now, but yeah, I wish in the past that I had done that rather than just hearing what they said and being like, okay, sure, yeah, when I really was not okay with it.
Yeah, well, you're also putting the emotional labor on them for a conversation that you wanted to have, which is a pretty unfair thing to do. And I also something that Jonah said that really struck with me was you felt like you were under fire in these conversations. And I think another important thing, which is so hard, but another important thing is to communicate and make sure they believe you, that it's okay to take a minute and absorb it and not actually answer in that moment if they need some absorbing time. That is so fucking hard. I won't lie to the listeners.
That's a great point. And I feel like even like in business and stuff like that, like sometimes when I need to have big conversations, we'll be like, are you in the headspace for a big conversation right now? Or are you in the headspace for good news, bad news, to get to do some stuff? And I think you're right. But in these emotional conversations, you can get so caught up in it. It's like why reality TV works or like The Bachelor works. It's like, technically all those decisions they make, they should take fucking day alone and they'll process their thoughts before they in the moment decide to say that they're falling in love with someone or get into a fight over something serious. So I think that's a really good piece of advice. It's just to allow yourself the opportunity to say you can have a beat and we don't need to do that right now, but here's how I'm feeling.
Yeah. Another go ahead, Roark.
Oh, I was just going to say something else that I think something, Allie, you just posted on the Finding Mr. Height Instagram that stuck with me and is something that, from like reading Brene Brown and like being that girl, there is no, I want to say that if you're in a situationship, it is not strong to not catch feelings. And that there is strength in standing in your emotional needs and it is okay and encouraged that when you spend time with somebody and are physical with them, you feel something. And that's a great thing about the human experience that it's okay to declare you have.
Yeah.
Totally
I think so often we try and pretend that we don't have feelings for someone when we really do. And that's what leads to so much anxiety and stress and discomfort. And then eventually a downward spiral because we haven't been able to be open and honest and explore those for what they are.
Yeah. Or we think that whoever cares less wins. And I, Roark said, a game of chicken earlier. I think that is the biggest game of chicken of if I care less than this person, then I have won. And I actually think it is the exact opposite because it takes a lot of strength to care about someone.
Yeah.
Someone very unwise once told me that the one who cares the least has the most control. And don't listen to that person. Anyway.
And then we tweeted that and then we almost got canceled for saying control. And that's that story.
I forgot about that.
And then Jonah's deleted Twitter forever.
Yeah, Twitter for me is completely dead. Although I'm back on Twitter now.
I haven't been on Twitter for years. It is blissful.
Congratulations.
I get all my news from Twitter.
I do too.
Well, we have some great advice for people. In our last sort of 10-ish minutes here, we love to provide our listeners with advice. So we have some listener situations, and then we'll get into some listener questions. Start with listener situation number 1. Guy and I talk for hours every day for 8 months. He wants to get physical, but no relationship.
What? How did you end up in this situation?
Some of these things we don't get all the details, but this is
we have this experience as well.
Yeah.
We actually had a very experience where we didn't have enough information and the person DM'd me this very long explanation and then it all made sense. So
yeah, that happens often.
How did this happen? How did we get here? But
I've been there.
Well, hold on.
For 8 months?
Hold on. Allie, I'm curious to hear the rest of what you're going to say because I actually think you're going to say what I perhaps am also pondering. Do you have?
I'm wondering how it's been that long with, first of all, get physical. So they've been talking for hours every day platonically. Feels confusing. But
maybe the pandemic has something to do with that.
Maybe. But I guess I'm just wondering why this person has waited 8 months. Why are we only hearing this story now? Why has it been 8 months?
Why now? Why this firm?
Yes, talking all of this time, but we haven't said a word about what we want during that whole time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there is a chance for a happy ending in this situation unless you kind of call it off and say look, I really like talking to you and I like you and I would want this to go somewhere. But if you don't, then we should stop doing what we're doing now before one of us gets hurt. And if you later change your mind, great. I just want to protect our friendship.
Or plot twist, the happy ending is that this person walks away from something that's not serving them and finds something that is.
Let's go.
I love that, Allie. Yeah.
Fuck yeah. Next.
That's the answer.
That's
what if we have different definitions of...
My hype man, it's true.
What if we have different definitions of what being boyfriend-girlfriend means?
I actually almost brought this up earlier because, talk about it. But like, what's the difference? Do we think there's a difference between being exclusive and being boyfriend-girlfriend?
There is. Oh, this is a great story.
There is.
This is a great story for us. A couple episodes ago, I was making a case that there was a difference between being exclusive and being a boyfriend-girlfriend. Alana vehemently disagreed with me. And she's like, there's not. What's the difference? It's all on tape. And then cut to a couple episodes later, which is actually awesome. Alana comes back describing her new exclusivity relationship with this guy that's now her boyfriend. And I was like, wait, Alana, isn't that funny? A couple episodes ago, you said there was no such thing. That they're the same. And she was like, no, now I see what the difference is between the two things. And if you don't mind, I'll just quickly speak on behalf of seeing other people. To us, the difference between boyfriend, girlfriend, and being exclusive is basically about sharing your life with somebody and being a partner to them in the way that you can be the best partner. So, being exclusive is you're the only person I'm kissing, you're the only person I'm sleeping with, and like there's things that are kind of coming with that. But there's no like loyalty or bonus features of like having to meet parents or having to be there emotionally for like major life events or all the things that come with the duties of being a boyfriend or girlfriend. Then that's what the difference is. Once you get to boyfriend, girlfriend, I'm sharing my life with you. We're doing this together. We're more partners in crime.
It's the emotional support for me. No, but for real, and what happened, what made me realize it was when he brought up being exclusive, I was like, yeah, that makes sense. But in that moment, was I ready to like consider this guy my person where like if I was upset about something, he was the person I'd call, or like if he was upset about something, I would drop everything to pick up the phone and make sure he was okay. And like, no, at that point I wasn't, but knowing that we were exclusive, knowing that he was committing to me and me being the only person for him and having that step, just even knowing that allowed me to then get a little deeper and open up more and become more comfortable to get to that point of like, oh yes, like I want, like this guy is my boyfriend.
Yeah. Roark, you have a similar POV on that, don't you?
Yeah, I was going to say, I think Jonah, actually, you pretty much articulated my thoughts where, to me, it has to do with exclusivity is like, we're just going to see this through without bringing in sort of other people to cloud our emotional judgment about how I feel about this interaction. And then, Alana, as you said, like it's the accountability for me that I'm accountable to this person and need to sort of show up more than I would have for somebody I was exclusively dating.
Awesome.
That makes sense to me. I'm on board.
Yeah.
But I'm very amenable to the argument that it's a distinction without a difference. I'm amenable to that.
Love that for us. Always texting with each other, yet only makes time to see me one time every 2 weeks. Interested or no?
It depends.
Always texting, but only makes time to see me once every 2 weeks.
Is that like his one day off or hers? I don't know. I don't know the parties.
We don't know the gender. Okay. We also, these are tough. I don't know. It might be job related. Let's just assume that perhaps the job is not a factor, that it's a seemingly normal job. Do you think this person is leading this person on with this once every 2 week hangout? Or can you care about someone and still only see them once every 2 weeks?
I would say both. Like you can care about someone and only see them once every 2 weeks. But I think the question here is whether that is enough for this person who is written in.
Which clearly, if they're writing this in, it's not.
It's not. Yeah, we have the answer. It's not enough. But I think we're back to communication. There's like maybe this other person wants a relationship or situationship or whatever where they only have that once every 2 weeks commitment. And that's great for them. And they care about you, but that's great. But that's what they want to do.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, I got some I got some fire once for only seeing someone once a week, but it was like that's kind of like how I am early on when I'm seeing somebody is like once a week is like what I can make happen. And I don't think there should be anything wrong with that, but I think in some worlds, it's not enough for people.
I will say, Jonah, on your calendar, I do see that in the busiest week of your life right now that you're going through, you did make time for dinner with future wife. So I was very
That's
proud
correct.
of that.
I have to. Yeah, I had to. And it's like I had to move. It was supposed to be last night. Now it's tonight. And like I am taking a call. My walk over to see her, but I like really wanted to prioritize at least one night, where we get to hang out.
That's awesome.
But
I love that.
gotta do that. I always have trouble figuring out what to get my mom for Mother's Day, but this year I'm not going to because the lovely John and Renee have a wide selection of products over at mindsetwellnesscbd.com, which is, of course, our lovely sponsor, but a bunch of things that are going to make great gifts for Mom's Day. A lot of stuff on their website you can go check out. I'm probably going to get my mom like the Focus or the Calm gummies because, she just moved to New York and having these things can help sort of just get her at peace with the new, city and all the energy that comes with that. She's coming from LA, so very zen to more sort of hectic. Maybe get her the Mindset Wellness CBD rest gummies, which I famously love, and she can enjoy those. But we do have a code for you. So the people, 10% off and free shipping. Mindset Wellness CBD. I did it right. And they make really great stuff. And they're our sponsor and we love them. And it's a great Mother's Day gift. Very easy. Swipe up, go check them out. And we appreciate their support. See you next time. Back to the episode. So we did an episode a couple weeks ago, things guys wish girls knew and girls wish guys knew. We wanted to ask you two, what is something that you wish guys understood about women or vice versa when it comes to dating?
Roark, you go.
Oh God, how dare you? I don't want to do this. I wish this is oh God, this is too universal. This probably isn't answering your question. I wish people would not paint the next person they date with the brush of the last person they dated.
Ooh.
Very good.
I love that.
Very good.
That
Yeah, I
is
like that
insightful.
too.
Thank you.
Oh shit, it's my turn. No, I love that too, Roark. I think that I wish that both, this is true of both genders, but I think that I wish that people wouldn't group all people within one gender as the same. And that's not because of other people they've dated per se, but I think just sort of stereotypes of that, like, oh, because she's a woman, she must want this. Because he's a guy, he must want this. I hear that a lot.
Yeah.
Like, oh, well, no man wants to commit, or like, oh, well, all girls want a boyfriend. And that's just not true.
Love that. The one that we hear, and that like I've tried to understand is like all guys just want to do is have sex and like move on. And it's like, that could not be the biggest, like that's literally the biggest myth. Cause like none of my guy friends were always like, sex is exhausting. Like it's emotionally a lot of effort. Like, no, and not only that, it's like, I just kind of want to cuddle and watch a movie. Like, I just kind of want someone to hold. And like, so this, it's just, maybe that was like the 90s. And we were just did an episode where I was like, it's like American Pie. It's like people think all, it's not like that. It's just not. And, but I love that, Allie. Ignore my random rant about how guys just aren't in it for sex, but
No, but I think that's so true. Or like when I talk about attachment styles, and I don't know if you guys have talked about that at all on the podcast, but like there's a lot of different ones, but the two biggest ones are avoidant and anxious. And I think that people often attach avoidant attachment to men and anxious attachment to women.
Yes.
And it's just not gendered that way. And I think we can get into a lot of trouble when we make assumptions like that.
Agreed.
Totally agree. Great. So for the next one, we do have a listener email. So a little more specific. We'll get some more context to the situation. Alana, you want to take it away?
All right. I matched with a guy on Bumble last month. He lives in another city, but is moving here in a few weeks. The last time he was in town, we met for drinks and had a great time. We kissed at the end of the night. A few days later, he said he felt serious energy between us, and I definitely felt the same. Since we matched and even after the date, we've talked every day. Last weekend, he just stopped texting. I gave it a few days, nothing. So I reached out asking if he was okay. He responded, "Hey, I am. Sorry for the fall off. How are you?" I responded, but I never heard back. He had told me he has depression and anxiety and tends to shut people out when he feels overwhelmed. He lives in Minneapolis, and there's obviously a lot going on there right now. And he's planning a move. Should I just leave it be? Do I wait until he moves here to reach out again? I don't know what to do.
There's a lot going on in that email. I think, without speaking to somebody's mental health who we do not know, I think that if somebody has communicated something like that to you and you've tried to reach out and they haven't really reciprocated, I think you need to respect that in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
In the sense that they shouldn't reach out or that they should reach out?
Well, she did twice.
Yeah, but so you're saying she shouldn't reach out again at all?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
What about a message of just like thinking of you, hope your week is going well, like text me when you're, I don't know, shit.
A good morning text, Alana? Is that what
Shut
you
up,
want?
Jonah. Hey, I started getting those ever since mentioning it on that episode.
By the way, I've gotten a lot of messages about people saying that they agree with my side of things, which is that it's a creepy text to send.
If
I've got a TikTok for you guys.
Please share.
About this. I will send it. I will send it on
later.
I'll send it over email or Instagram. But Allie, I agree that I think that there's absolutely a reason to just sort of like end it here and let it lie, especially with the mental health information. I think that, Alana, to maybe like split the difference to bring in what you were saying a little bit, the only way I think to approach that is to address it very directly and say,
Yes,
I know you've let me know this about yourself. Is what's best for you right now. If we just, if I don't reach out anymore, does that feel like the right thing right now? If so, let me know. I gladly will respect what your needs are. Like, I think that's the only thing like you can say. I don't think you can do like a fishing expedition of like, how are you doing? Yeah.
That's fair. And I like that you said that. And I think for somebody who is similar to me, who like, I know I would be sitting there anxious every day being like, is it like, did I do something? I would just be creating a million scenarios in my head. So for somebody who's similar to me, I would need to send a text like that just to kind of calm myself and get an answer that I can have from him, not created by my brain.
Well, that's why, and this situation became a little bit different for me because of the information he provided to her about how he handles things. But that's why I do these like text scripts on my Instagram where I tell people how to address certain situations. That's why I tell people to call out people who've ghosted them.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think exactly what you said, I think it's super healthy to practice setting boundaries. I think it's not even about closure per se, but about denormalizing that behavior, that's super shitty that you did that to me. You shouldn't do that. But the reason that I hesitated is because of that nugget that she included.
Yeah. Which
Wait,
it is a good thing that he did communicate that.
Allie, do you advise people to call people out for ghosting them?
100%. Yes.
And what is the like the language that you encourage? And apologies for my I didn't pick up on that in my research, but what is the advice that you give? Is it to it because it's not to like attack them for this? Or is it like
I'm pulling up my text script note in my phone.
Perfect.
So it's one of my first ones. When you've been ghosted. Hi, blank. I'm taking your silence to mean that you're no longer interested in seeing each other. I'm disappointed I didn't hear that from you directly, and I hope you'll consider treating the next person with more respect. I'm looking to date someone with good communication, and I'm sure they will be too.
Shit.
That's a great when do we advise someone to declare it a ghosting?
So I have a flow chart. I am not kidding.
I'm obsessed with it.
I know. Yeah.
I have a flow chart.
Yeah.
And I think it's one of the most fun PowerPoints I've ever made in my life. And I think that it is ghosting if you have either been on a date or had a date scheduled. And by had a date scheduled, I mean like, we're going to go to this place at this time, like very clearly defined, not, hey, we should hang out. Like that doesn't count. Don't get me wrong. Not responding to somebody if you don't have a date scheduled is still rude. But that's the other part of the flow chart. So that has to have happened. And then you also have had to reach out. It is not ghosting if you went out with somebody and you never said anything and neither did they.
Hard agree.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Huge.
Is it, wait, so the going out plans, so you're saying if they cancel plans that it's a ghosting, or you're saying if they don't show up, or you're saying if they just don't follow up?
If they don't follow up. So if you had a plan for a date, or if you went on a date and then you reach out to them and they just straight up don't respond to you.
Copy. No, and for how many days do we go until it's inappropriate?
So that's where I have a harder time setting a definitive timeline, because I think different people have different cadences of communication that feels normal to them. So this might be somebody that you talk to once a week. And in that case, it would take a while, a week or maybe longer, before it would be abnormal.
So it's relative to the pentameter that you've created with this person.
Yeah, because there could also be the guy that you're texting back and forth with all day, every day, or this person who's talking to this man for hours for 8 months.
Yeah.
If he doesn't reply to her for a day, he probably ghosted. Or something happened.
Wow. Okay. Here's a fun fact. We're going to have to do this again to go over this ghosting pipeline, because I think that's a whole episode.
Well, we can talk about that when you come on our pod.
Perfect.
Hell yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. Well, thank you both so much for joining us. As everyone hopefully knows, this was like by far the most requested podcast collab. Like, I was blown away. Did you guys tell people to write that?
I was about to say, should I confess here that I had some behind? Yeah, I used my close friend story.
Well, you were all right. Like, you guys were already on my list anyway, but that was just like a little like push over the edge.
And after you guys posted that, I had so many people, actually people that aren't even in my close friend story, that just did it on their own. But undercover marketing, guerrilla marketing.
Am I not on your? That's why I didn't know you put on your close friends. I'm not in your close friends. Oh my god!
Wait a second.
Are you two just in a situationship? Have you not DTR'd?
As I was saying that story, I was okay. So listen,
not on your close friends list.
Roark. Okay, so one of the
I know.
One of the beefs that I have with close friend stories is that you have to actively add people to them, and Roark's new in
Allie, you're not getting out of this one. We're all here.
No, this is fair. It's fair. That like I have like a secret Instagram that's like my personal Instagram that is not related to this in any way.
Yes.
Well, we appreciate you guys coming on the show. Please point our listeners in the best way they can listen to more and watch more of your work.
So we are at Finding Mr. Height on Instagram and TikTok. Our podcast is called Finding Mr. Height, the podcast, which you can find our podcast homepage at findingmrheight.com/podcast. And we have like searchable of all our episodes, and you can ask us questions.
Amazing.
Yeah, Roark, did I miss anything? She's better at the marketing than I am.
No, that was great. That's perfect.
Well, you both are killing it. We really appreciate your time and your insight. Some good conversation, some good debate here on the show. I think this is what we're here for. And we appreciate everyone listening. We'll see you guys next Tuesday.
We'll see ya. And as you are closing out of your podcast app or going to listen to Finding Mr. Height, make sure to go to your Instagram and check your close friends list. Review who's on it. Make sure the right people are there. Make sure you've taken off the people who have ghosted you. And with that, have a great day.
Have a great day.